Today I'm sitting with a very interesting guest. I'm sitting with Dr. Petla, a doctor, a mother, an author, an entrepreneur, an all-round awesome person. And I thought it would be very interesting to sit with her and do a few and go through some few questions about relationships and health. How are you? How are you, Doctor?
Morning. Thanks for inviting me, and thank you to everyone who's watching this. Hope this conversation will be meaningful.
Yes. Thank you for the opportunities. It's quite a nice space that we are in. So I'll just get to it. So when I messaged you saying that I'd like to, I suppose, talk to you about relationships and health, and I wasn't quite sure how to, I suppose, direct the questions. But I suppose the main thing that I'm interested for the viewers is issues around health and relationships, particularly marriage.
Okay.
Is it really important to know about things like that? Does one's health affect how one lives out there?
Yes, of course it does, because before you can be someone in the relationship, you are a person by yourself. So your fitness or lack of fitness, therefore, will affect your compatibility, your capability to interact with your partner in the marriage. So of course it's very vital in actual fact to be aware of yourself and to be responsible for yourself before you can engage with somebody else.
And it's lovely that you talking about, I suppose, getting the idea of having a certain capacity to be able to function, to take part in the marriage, or to just be an active person in the relationship. What I'm also interested in is what about one's personal history, medical history? Do you think those things are important? Is it important for a person to actually understand their personal history, their family's medical history? Are those things that are important for a person to
Yes, it would be ideal if before all of us get into relationships, we can actually go through the whole history, the history that we take as health professionals to understand the background from all aspects, whether it's mental history, medical conditions in the family, because all of that will contribute, because you're still the person in that body. It's going to contribute to your own capability in the relationship. And remember, usually on average, in relationships, you end up having children. To be aware of how you can minimize those that are problems, how you can optimize strength from the same history, because we can just live in that fantasy, okay, we're just in love, okay, let's do this and it's beautiful. But the reality is some things end up becoming emergencies. Some things could have been prevented. But if you don't want to acknowledge the reality that we are existing in bodies that have needs, and we need to find ways of all the time balancing the realities with our own wishes and creating our new path, so to say, within the realities and our own wishes.
I like the I suppose the idea of bridging the practical and this, I suppose, a fantasy. When people meet, they're usually very excited. I suppose even the literature would say people are in love, or they feel the butterflies for about 2 years, But then with time will come the practicalities. When you married, then perhaps you want children. And I suppose what you're saying is it's if one needs to, I suppose, plan and think about those things, because they're going to have a real impact on the marriage. But what about a person's partner? So not just do you think one should be interested in the partner's health? Is that being intrusive? Is that an important thing to know? Is it going too personal?
Yeah. Already by the time you're in a relationship, you can't be too personal. Everything to do with your partner affects you directly, good or bad. So, a healthy relationship should allow you to be able to discuss such things. An intimate, healthy relationship that has, plans to live long. But if it's a short-term relationship, quick in and out, you don't need that information, is too much. But if you're hoping for a relationship that is going to be sustainable, you have to be real with each other, know what the facts are, what are practical things to do, to discuss, and like we're saying, the fantasy part, because it's exciting, but at some point the fantasy and the excitement ends, and you deal with real issues. So you should be able to discuss such things, knowing yourself and your partner. So it shouldn't be one-sided, because you're basically going to become, and you're coming together in a union of everything's going to be affected. Your financial status, your medical status, your mental status, because now you have to coexist with somebody else. So definitely the answer is yes. You should rather be in a relationship where you are comfortable to open up to such things. If you are more, a responsible person, so to say, it's good to know all these things so both of you can plan and pick up what can we prevent. So, for example, if there's a history of, in the family, let's say there's mental health conditions already existing in the family, just having that information empowers you to know that, okay, I need to be very, very disciplined in terms of how I take care of my health, the relationships that I keep, the things that I do, and all the things to do with your vitality, the vitality of your own life. What do I need to do? What do I need to prevent? Because already this thing is genetically, so it's not an emotional thing. It's genetically present, already predisposed to that condition. So just knowing that, then you have to be more vigilant. Then you can prevent some. So you don't want to wait and act like it's not there. You're going to pray about it, it's going to disappear. There's nothing wrong. But we see what I pray. But even God gives us the responsibility to take care of ourselves and be responsible with whatever roles that we have.
It's interesting when you said, when you were busy responding, I was thinking of, I suppose in my own field, how sometimes you have sometimes somebody with a difficult personality, and that could come from a mental history, a family background. So if somebody does not know what they are genetically predisposed to, that can affect them. The question I want to know, or what I'd like clarity on, is the idea that men and women go through different things. So are there conditions that women might maybe struggle with or experience that are typical to women that might affect relationships? And also men, are there such conditions? Because I know when you work in hospitals and clinics, the men don't like taking care of themselves. But are there things that women could be struggling with or men could be struggling with that they might not be aware of, or ignore and find out that there's a problem sometimes in the future?
I think to answer that, we'll just give it more of a general response from a point that any human being, whether a man or a woman, you need to be basically holistically healthy. Because once you're lacking in one area, it affects other areas in your life. So there's not really specific issues per se. And also remember, it depends at what age you are at. You've got different medical problems or social problems depending on your needs and your development and all of that. So in a relationship, I think the best thing is, we're going back to the thing again, that each individual has to be holistically healthy. Holistically healthy meaning we're going to consider physical health, which is more under physical and mental health, which is more under vitality health. There is financial health that should be considered. There is spiritual health. There is family health. I'm just breaking into bits and pieces, but we have to consider everything, because when we don't do that, we tend to bump into these issues as if they are sudden problems, but they were actually existing even before. But they were never really addressed, because everybody was focused on the love and the excitement and, okay, I'm going to trust God on this. But part of the responsibility of a relationship is to be honest, because when you're honest, you remove the power of the secret. Then the vulnerability allows the two of you to communicate and see how you can work on these things. But from a medical point of view, physically and mental health, we need to consider things like, as we're aging, depending on your lifestyle, the issues around, what do you drink alcohol, do you smoke, do you keep healthy relationships, are you aware of such things, your sleeping patterns, and are they assisting you, are they working for you? So your habits, training, exercising, eating well, and things like all of that contribute to your vitality health. If, for example, eventually over time, we're in the fantasy of, no, we're just in love, but we've ignored the reality that now you've got diabetes, now you've got hypertension, now you are depressed, all of that even affect the quality of the relationship. because automatically somebody who is got a vascular problem, as a man, then you've got erectile problems. Then now that leads to other problems. As a woman, when you, for example, you're overweight or got depression, it does affect your capacity to engage in the relationship. So it's really a general answer that each individual must just learn to take care of themselves for themselves first, so that they can be fit to be able to engage with another person in the relationship.
And I think that's a very helpful answer. If I stretched it a bit, then if you were to give practical advice on simple things that people could do to take care of themselves.
Yes, I would think under general, the advice would be for individual health. Because once you are healthy, each individual is healthy in the relationship, and it's easier to build on something solid. And going forward, you've got more sustainable circumstances, so to say. So we have to consider things like it's basically holistic health. Holistic health, we consider everything. So we don't only focus on how we feel about each other or what excites us. We're focusing also on the practical things around the relationship, around the individuals. We need to discuss money issues. We need to discuss family histories, different part of that. We need to be discussing what do we see for ourselves in the relationship, because most of problems arise when somebody expects something but they didn't communicate it in the first place. So when somebody doesn't deliver what they expected, then there's a disappointment, and it wasn't an intentional, intentional heartbreak, so to say, but it was just not communicated. So we need to be looking at all angles. Physical health plays a huge role, because you need the body to be fit for you, the person, to be able to exist with another person. So your sleeping patterns, that's part of taking care of yourself. Your sleeping patterns, your diet, your exercising, smoking, drinking, things like that. The relationships that you're keeping, even your own wishes about the future, or the expectations in the relationship, because that's very critical. So because we know if we don't attend to that, it will have a direct impact in how a relationship rolls out. It can affect our fertility. For example, if somebody's not taking care of an element of their health, there's fertility issues, there is sexual intimacy issues, there is communication issues, because then you become defensive. The secret that you're keeping, because sometimes we know we come into relationships with secrets, with burdens, so to say, but we don't communicate and we hope it disappears. But it's easier to actually communicate, bring it to light, because it does not have a hold on you anymore, but then it gives an opportunity to try to solve it or work around it, so that it doesn't become the barrier in the progress of the relationship.
And one word you keep coming back to is this thing about, I suppose, communicating expectations. And if I could pick your brain on the status of, in your opinion, where do you think marriages are now? Because when you study marriages from history, you see the pattern is changing. But in your work, in the people that you interact with, do you think the marriage relationships, do you think it's something that is improving? Do you think that it's something that is getting hurt? What's your opinion on that?
Overall, I would like to acknowledge where we are, specifically in South Africa and generally in the world. We're in a place where there's evolution. But since I believe the Bible, God says there's really nothing new. It's just different eras. And because you're existing in a certain era, you will experience evolution. But as a concept, going through democracy, it told us that you are free now. You can do what you love now. You can be yourself now. So even, those that are supposed to be parents, they want to have fun now. They're forgetting their parents. Fathers are forgetting to be fathers because they want to be themselves. They want to be able to express themselves. Mothers are doing the same thing. Children want to be. So everybody's just in a confused state at the stage, but nothing unfamiliar to evolution of humankind. But it's just put us under so much pressure, because the idea now and the pressure now is around just be yourself. And the responsibility is being removed, because you can't at the same time just be yourself, but you're neglecting your responsibilities because you just want to have fun. And I mean, the best way to evaluate if what you're doing is working or not is always the results of where you are
doing.
Yes, I mean, if you are this cool parent, let's see how the kids turn out. Then you know if the coolness actually did work or not. If you're in a relationship, marriage word says, hang out with your friends. Don't be a boring guy now just because you're married. Still have fun with your friends. Let the wife live her own life and we'll catch up at some point. Unfortunately, it's not going to work because the minute you choose a specific role, it comes with responsibility.
Thank you for that. So what do you think about this idea, when I interact with different, I suppose, age groups, you get this idea, stretching from what you were saying now, that people want to find themselves. We live in this me generation that I can do everything and I want to pursue this, I want to pursue that, I'm hustling, do you think that's possible for people to pursue a range of things, or are there, I suppose, primary roles or things that people need to focus on just in terms of their lives and parenting and loving each other?
For that, I would say it depends where you are, and where you are, you want to try your best to be the best of that role. So as you evolve, when you're younger, you've got different needs. I mean, you're not a parent yet, you're not somebody's partner, most likely. Then your interest is going to be on you. It makes sense. That's the time for you. But once you engage other people in your life, it means something has to change. It's that part again of acknowledging, the change in the roles and in the stage of life where you are at. So you can't be everywhere. You can't do everything, because what it will mean is that you will remain a junior in that place. You will remain inexperienced in that place. But at some point, you have to master something. So as long as you are split too thin, you end up not mastering anything. So just acknowledging what is primary at the time for you, and mastering that, it makes a huge difference. I would say even for myself, I went through the stage where I felt, okay, I know I'm a medical doctor, but I'm creative. I love coloring. I love doing interior decor, and I'm good with it. And I can do 1, 2, 3. I was doing events all over the place. But then as I was busy with all of this, I realized that at the end, I'm not mastering any of them, because I'm only one person. I only have 24 hours. I only have, what everybody else has. So I had to make a decision to acknowledge what is the primary role that I'm responsible for, that if I do not attend to that, it will suffer. So my kids were the main thing. I'm a mother. I can't act like I'm still in high school. So, I mean, I can be praised outside, but if my kids do not praise me because I'm never there, I'm busy being praised for this and that outside, but the people that are supposed to be praising me, as they are put under my guidance and my shelter and all of that, are not praising me, then I failed in the role. As a wife, I can't be everywhere being acknowledged by all other men telling me this and that. Oh, you look good. Okay, we respect you. Okay, whatever. But then my own husband doesn't get my attention, doesn't get the time he deserves with me. So I've had to make the choice to say, okay, I can be everywhere. I can be doing all the things and posting everywhere, but I'm neglecting my primary roles. Then for me, I would have failed, because sooner or later, you always get the results of what you put your time into. So if I continue neglecting what I feel is important for me, or what I feel is primary role for me, within no time, I will see the results from my kids starting to be moody, being disrespectful, being bullied or bullying other kids, because it's a way of life communicating to you that stop and look. Or my husband is disconnected to me, we can't communicate it because I'm never there. Then he gets to bond with other people that actually make time for him. So that's how it works. So it's not an issue of insecurity. It's not an issue of, you're limiting yourself. It sounds like you limit yourself when you actually apply yourself. But it's only a decision that can be made by the individual, because you don't want to feel like somebody's, is blocking your shine. But you have to also think about the impact of what you're doing. What you don't master, you remain a student to forever. So something like that.
Wow, that's actually quite powerful, quite profound. What you don't master, you remain a student, I suppose an apprentice. So last question, you don't have to answer this one, but I'm taking from what you are saying, it sounds as if you moved along a certain journey to get where you are, because what you're saying is very refined, it's like somebody who's thought about things. So my question would be, but how does somebody get there? How does somebody get to think about, I think these are the things that I need to focus on, be it life and career? Because what you're saying is actually quite rare in my opinion, that people are very distracted, but somehow you found yourself having to zone in and focus, and how does that happen, perhaps for you or just for people in general?
Yes, I'll say you have to be seeking for that in the first place. But seeking it depends. You seek different things based on what you know, your own experience, your own past, what you've been exposed to in your past and what you see now. And for me, part of what contributed to this is, you see, the things that people would post on social media, and you get the feeling that people really just want to show off. They want to get the respect, the acknowledgement from silly things. And the worst thing is, if you're busy posting material things and what you've done with who, famous people and all of that, but you don't put the how to it, then it's irresponsible in a way, because then you're creating a lot of people who want to be wearing the famous brands, to be with the famous people, to be doing the famous trips, but then they don't know how to do it. So then you're creating, for younger people, kids that now they're going to end up having to make a plan of, how do I get this? Because I can't find a job, I'm still young. So now they have to start thinking like criminals, some of them. Others then just want shortcuts in life. If they've got privilege, then they just want to demand that from their parents. So when parents themselves do that, guess what? The children learn the same thing. Then they mimic what you're doing. At the same time, you've neglected your own kids, because you focus on yourself so much that you see nothing else around you. Then for me, it said that, you know what, I don't want to be that person who is showing off to the world, to be this great person, to be this amazing person, to be this successful person, but you're failing in your primary roles that no one can see. And unfortunately, even for that, it's not going to be a secret for too long, because whatever that you've neglected, it becomes your monster, your nightmare within no time, because everything that we do has an impact, whether it's going to be today, tomorrow, or in the next few centuries, but it's going to show. So we are always a reflection today of what we've been doing yesterday and the day before. So you get to seek things that speak to you, but sometimes you never had the experience of seeking things that will work for you. But then you have to be looking for positive role models. They're not everywhere, but you have to know first what's going to work for you. Then you look for such people if you don't have. And above all, if you just read the Word of God, you get a lot of guidance there. It simplifies things. So I've been seeking, because I felt uncomfortable in my life. I was doing a lot of things, but at the same time, I still feel like there's a gap. So I had to realize that, okay, the gap for me is, I'm busy with everything, but I'm not mastering the primary things. So I had to make that decision. And, for the first time, I've been reading Proverbs 31 for so long, because even when I was still studying to be a doctor, I think immediately after high school, I wanted to get married. So I was just thinking, okay, I can't wait to get married. So then at some point I had this Proverbs 31 that I've been meditating on there, like, okay, I want to be this woman. It sounds like an ideal. She does so many things. But in actual fact, for the first time in my life, about 3 months ago, I got the revelation that that woman that is being spoken about in Proverbs 31, she's not everywhere doing everything. But everything of us is centered actually around the feminine. And for me, it was revealed or got clear that who praises this woman is clear who praises this woman, not the world, not people, not colleagues, not friends. The children praise her. The husband praise her. So I decided I'd rather have that type of structure than the structure of the world, because with the world, you'll never win. The posts keep moving. The minute you think, okay, I've arrived, they move the mirror. Okay, no. And today onwards, we're changing it. So I'll rather stick to something that doesn't change. Something that is not starting with me, it's not ending with me. That I feel is more reliable. So I'll rather be in a place where I'm applauded by the right people.
I think it's a beautiful place to end the interview. You've been far too kind. Any last comments or thoughts that you think you'd like to just share?
Wonder. Well, I would say just find your place, identify what is your primary roles, and try to find out from the right sources what you should be doing, so to say. Things are not as complicated as the world makes them seem like. Actually, life is supposed to be simpler and simpler as we grow, not more complicated. So the simpler we do things, the better. So the honesty works. Being true to yourself more than being true to the world, it works, because if you can be comfortable with yourself, most of the things fall off. Be comfortable with yourself. Know that you don't have to show off everything. People that have really worked for things don't actually want to show them off. So be that person that you're trying all the time to work on yourself to be a better person, not a perfect person, a better person. Master what you're doing, wherever that you are, no matter the position you have, whether it's executive or they call you the lowest. For God, everyone is important. So if you can master wherever you are, that's enough. Because God has a way of helping you through it and getting to where you're supposed to get to eventually.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me.